This morning I've stayed local, and people living in the vicinity of Market Warsaw will probably instantly recognise where I am. I'm standing on the bridge that goes over the River Meaden. I'm at Hills and Hollers today. After a bit of driving around, I've ended up about half a mile from home. This, as those local to Market Warsaw will recognise instantly, is Hills and Hollers, or Hills and Hollers, depending on your persuasion. It's quite a contentious issue in Market Warsaw, whether it's Hills and Hollers or Hills and Hollers. In much the same way as there are at Nottinghamshire, it's either Southall or Southall. And this is generally indicative of the terrain here, with these shallow to deep pits or former workings. There is a lot of hawthorn scrub here. Some people will be crying out for the saw already, even just at the sight of this. But it is carefully maintained. Very little scrub work or scrub clearance work goes on, and so the site retains the same feel year on year. Because of the grazing, I would imagine any scrub growth is quite quickly halted, and the scrub consists of blackthorn but mostly hawthorn. This is a terrific site, especially for a coleopterist or an entomologist like myself to have on the doorstep. Market Warsaw is very lucky to have this site close at hand. Now, cattle grazing is a problem on this site. It happens usually, say, from about July onwards. And once the cattle are in, many people stay out. I'm not usually bothered about cattle. These seem to have a bit of an attitude that come in here. Now, the maintenance and management of the site, I believe, comes under the auspices of Natural England, or Unnatural England, depending on your persuasion. Spring is the best time to visit this site. The array of flowers that you would normally find on limestone grassland in Nottinghamshire is great, and some really good floral diversity here, and some really special plants. And it's somewhere that will come back and visit in a few months' time once the flowers start to appear. This is a beautiful place. It makes a great place to watch regularly for migrant warblers and other migrant birds coming through. There should be a number of redstart sightings, maybe even something like pied flycatcher here, and I'm surprised that neither seems to have turned up here. Once again, we're treated to an absolutely glorious January day. The skies are cloudless, and now that the frost is disappearing, there is some warmth in that sun. These banks immediately in front and to the left of the screen mark my probably immediate go-to place whenever I visit here. It's the flora and just the position that these banks and hills offer. They just reek of finding something rare. In the distance you can see the pit top of the former Welbeck Colliery and Company Hill. On the right of the screen you can just make out the nearest rooftops of Market Warsop. This is a great site. It's very popular, especially with dog walkers, and it's occasionally used as a cut through. And of course, being located so close to an urban area, it has had its problems in the past, but they seem to have largely cleared up now on the evidence that I've seen, or the lack of evidence that I've seen in recent years. But quite often an element of the society in Warsop would make small fires here and take drugs. There's no denying it, because the syringes used to be there and all the associated drug paraphernalia used to be there. And it has suffered a bit from careless littering over the years. Thankfully, that does seem, as I've just mentioned, not so much the case nowadays, which is excellent news for the site, for the species that live on the site, and for people that live nearest the site. Just walking by the side of the river here, my eyes are continuously drawn to the grass, just how green the grass is. It's such a mild winter despite a few frosts on an evening. This grass is growing, hence the reason that it's so bright green. It's almost like early March, when grass would traditionally start to put up those first few shoots. Nowadays, grass will grow 12 months of the year, just at a slower rate during the winter months. I'm now very close to Stonebridge Lane, named after the stone bridge, which you may be able to make out on the left of your screen. This part of the River Meaden is very shallow, as you can see by the way the water runs down. Left of the screen here, it's about 5 foot deep. It drops away very quickly. Now, though the river is only narrow as it goes downstream, it is very deep. This part of the Hills and Hollers is a playground for young children. It's an ideal spot for young children to come down accompanied by adults and have a paddle and a play in the water. And it's a meeting place for dogs as well. Dogs love it just as much. It's nice that there is this shallow running water. And here's the view from Stonebridge, with the river running down into Market Warsop and beyond. It's quite unusual why the river is this wide here, more than twice its normal width through the rest of Hills and Hollers really, and yet it's so shallow. I suppose at one time this would have been the crossing place for horses and carts, almost like your traditional ford. Nowadays we've got infrastructure in Market Warsop, so we've got Stonebridge, And this is just a really small lane. At one time of day you could drive it. I wouldn't have recommended it. I don't know what it's like now. And it leads between Market Warsop and down to Sukhum village. And the lovely little and somewhat strange looking church at Sukhum. One day we'll have to visit it for a short video. But now I'm here, I'm going to walk back down the side, the right hand side as you look at it, of the river, just to get some more river type shots. All in all, this is a lovely spot, and I can't stress to people enough how lucky they are to have somewhere like this within walking distance. It's a lovely river, River Meaden. Obviously, there's otters in it somewhere. Nobody will tell you where. It's a species I'd love to see. I've never seen one. I really ought to get off my backside one day and make an effort. And I've been surprised actually not to hear or see kingfisher today, because this stretch of Hills and Hollers is usually guaranteed kingfisher. But this time I won't be coming back to film kingfisher, but come May we'll come round for another walk and see what insects we can find, and I'll talk more about the insects to be found here. Now I've got to try and get up, which is easier said than done. Although the nights with this anticyclonic weather are rather on the chilly side, most places are getting some degree of frost each night. But during the day, if the fog hasn't formed overnight, the day is beautiful. A bit like this really. Cloudless, with a big bright sun over there. And the temperature is warming up now, and when it's a nice clear sky like this on an evening, have a look at how light the nights are now getting. Still fairly light even at 5 o'clock on an evening, and the mornings too, the mornings are drawing out. Subtly but very quickly the year is changing. We're starting to get the effects of the slightly longer days. And over the next few weeks they'll increase, the days will be much longer, and everyone feels far more pleasant. But this view is super. And stand here now on this bridge over the River Meaden, just 50 or so yards upstream. There's a little egret wandering around. How times have changed, and as I mentioned, it's not just invertebrates that are doing well. Birds like little egrets, Chetty's warblers and others are doing equally as well with global warming and the effects of global warming. the effects of global warming, and it brings species in like little egrets. Very nice, I like it. And these are the first of more species, more exciting species, especially in the invertebrate line, which is more of my interest. Well, nice little wander. Got to go and wash my deck shoes now. There's always something. But what a beautiful day. Oh, it's a shame it didn't fly this way, innit? Wonder what flushed it. Must have seen me. I have that effect on things. Tend to frighten them. I've made many a baby cry.